everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra T Designs, and today I have this white, black, and gold Brushstrokes butterfly card to share with you. So let's jump right in. I'm going to create my layers here, so I am going to use an A2 base, and I have a piece of Tonic's gold pearl cardstock that I'm going to cut down to be about 1/8 of an inch smaller than my A2 base. Again, if you guys have been with me for a little bit, I love to mat everything. That's just kind of how I like to finish things. And I think when you're doing a simpler card like this one, and I'm trying kind of more for an elegant look, a mat really caps it off. Like, it really just adds a wow factor, I feel like, anyway. So I did cut a piece of HammerMill as well down to about 1/8 of an inch smaller than my mat, and that will be the panel that I actually work on. So I'm going to create what I kind of feel as an elegant thinking of you card. I feel like when you bring in white, gold, and black, it always just looks really stunning together. So I kind of go that way when I'm trying to create a card that's a bit more elegant. That's kind of just where I lean to. So for my panel, I wanted some extra texture on it. So I'm going to put it through the Botanical texture fade folder. I'm not actually sure if you can get this specific folder anymore. If you can, I'll have it linked down below. If you can't, I'll link some alternatives to other folders that I think would be stunning with this specifically. But I don't believe you can still get the full-sized Botanical texture fade. I believe that Tim Holtz came out with a smaller version of this one, but you can't get the big one anymore. So just so you're aware that you might not be able to find that specific folder. And then I have the Brushstroke butterfly dies. So with this, I really wanted the base of the butterfly to be that same gold Tonic cardstock, but I want the layers to be white, so they're going to be HammerMill, but I only want the base to be gold. So I'm using scraps of cardstock that I have just collected to cut out the base. Usually I would try to cut out the center of my panel so that I'm not kind of wasting the center of that gold that you're not really going to see. But with this, the dies are pretty big and they cut out a lot of things. So I kind of chose not to do that. You absolutely could, or you could just bring in like a rectangle die and cut the center out and keep that cardstock for another project. I didn't choose to do that on this specific project, though normally I do. Just because I didn't feel it was necessary, but absolutely do that if that's something that concerns you. So I ran the butterfly dies through my Gemini 3 times, once with the Tonic Gold cardstock for the base, once with HammerMill cardstock for the white top part, and then once through with the classic metallic Kraft-stock, the black version. That's what I wanted to use for the body. So there's not going to be a ton of black on this card, but I kind of just feel like it adds a little bit of something, a little more drama, if that makes sense. You could, of course, just go white and gold, but I think that black just adds a little more punch. So I did lean towards adding it into the card making here. So I'm just using my Barely Art glue to adhere down all of the kind of I guess they would be like highlight pieces rather than shadow pieces necessarily. I use the Barely Art glue just because it has that super fine tip at the end, so it's really easy to use on small items and small pieces of cardstock. And I'm going to show you it twice in here just so you can see this little butterfly is a bit hard to see that there are actually score lines in the butterfly's base that you can line up those highlights to. So it looks a little bit intimidating, but I promise that it's not. And the die cuts out each piece that the butterfly needs. So all of it is within one. So if you really wanted to, you could run it through with, say, HammerMill or watercolor cardstock and then just color your pieces to be whatever you wanted them to be, which I think we'll have to do on a different card. I have an idea for kind of a rainbow-esque theme with the butterflies that I think would look stunning. So I'll have to ponder that through in a different card, but for this one specifically, I just kind of want it to be simple and I want it to be elegant, because when I saw these butterfly dies for the first time, this card is exactly what I saw in my head. So I had to make it, I had to get it out of my head so that I could move on to make some other things. But hopefully on this butterfly, you can see that there are etched lines in the base of the butterfly where all of your pieces line up, and then your body goes on top of one of the highlight pieces. So it actually kind of ends up being raised, so it gives it a little more dimension, which I think is really neat. And then we're going to start adhering our layers together. So I did end up bringing in my Nuvo Deluxe glue for this part. You don't need to do this. It's just I have both Barely Art and Nuvo, so I jump between the two depending on if I need a fine tip or not. And I did liberally put a fair amount of glue on the back because there's so much texture on this piece. I really needed it to adhere. So I did cover the back pretty well with the glue and the liquid glue so that I could kind of shift the panel around as needed because I do eyeball things. So I have a tendency towards kind of adding a little bit of extra glue and then just kind of shifting things around until I'm happy with the placement. And then I kind of usually weigh them down. You don't see it here, but I do end up adding a misty on top of it. And then of course, quality control showed up. She had to make sure that the butterflies were in the right places. This is my supervisor. She showed up to just check it out and hang out with me for a minute. So I did add some thin 3D foam squares on the bodies of the butterflies. We'll have to make sure that this actually stays adhered because there's so much texture in the background. I didn't think liquid glue would hold as well as I was hoping. So I hoped that the foam strips would also add dimension, of course, but also kind of adhere better to this very textured piece. And there she walked off to my other desk, so it was pretty cute. But I did use my reverse tweezers just to lift off the release papers of these little 3D foam squares. Excuse me. And I did cut them in half just so that they would only be behind the body, giving me the chance to kind of press in the center with the body and then lift the wings off of the card base or the card panel. And you can also see that none of my butterflies actually hang outside of my panel, though they do go to the edge. And this is just so that they fit into an A2 sized envelope with no issues. And then for my sentiment, this is going to be black because again, I really wanted that kind of punch of drama there. And it is from the Tim Holtz label stickers, and it is the Thinking of You sentiment. This card is for someone specific in mind, so I did need a Thinking of You card. So I chose to use that label. And I love the label sticker. I love this kind of elegant look with the butterflies and the gold and the white, and then this kind of just almost industrial-esque feel with the label sticker. I kind of like that mixed feeling with the card, so I think that it turned out really cool and really neat in the end. And I do flip it over because I do have a little bit of that sentiment sticker hanging off of the edge of my card base, and for it to fit properly in an A2 envelope, I did need to remove that. So I just trimmed it off with my mini snips with no issues, and that's kind of how this goes. And now if you guys have been with me for a minute, you know that the next thing should be sequins or pearls or gems or something. I didn't put any on this card. Now, I did try out some white pearls. I had them on the background, I lined them up, and I didn't like them. I felt like it kind of drew focus away from the simplicity and the elegance of this card. So in the end, I opted just to bring in a clear Spectrum Noir glitter pen, and I'm going to put that all over the highlighted pieces of the butterflies. You can't see it as well as I would hope in the video, but hopefully you can at the end here when I hold the card up and kind of tip it in the light. You'll get to see how subtle that is, but still adds a lot of really pretty interest in the butterflies. So I love it. I think that this card turned out really pretty, and it's exactly what I saw in my head, which is always a win for me, but I think it came together and it turned out really stunning. So I'm pretty excited about this. So I do have a face-to-face video planned here pretty quick, hopefully as soon as I get some time to sit down and film it, where I'm going to sit down and I'm going to introduce myself and I'm going to talk about where my channel is going and what I want for the channel in the future and that kind of stuff. So if you have any questions for me, I've had some great questions left on some older videos that I had done, and I have a list going, but if anybody else would like to ask me any questions about me or my channel or my life or my cats or my craft space, I have been asked a few times for a craft studio tour, so we'll have to see if that pans out. I'm constantly reorganizing it, so I don't know if I'm quite ready to film something like that. And my room isn't very over the top. Like it's more functional than it is aesthetically pleasing, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure if it would be the most exciting studio tour ever, but I have been asked, and it is on the list of things that I'm considering filming. So if you have any questions that you want to ask me, or any comments or anything you want to tell me about you, I want to know. I want to hear what you have to say. This channel is successful because of you. So excuse me, I would love if you left me a question or a comment about your life, or told me something, anything really, that you want to tell me. I'd love to hear it. So this is the card I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to know what you think of it. Did it kind of hit the mark? Did I miss the mark? Should it have pearls or sequins in the background, you let me know. I'd love to hear it. So please leave me a like, leave me a comment, consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.